Give me a thumbs up if we're satisfied. All right. Thank you.
Testing. Test, test. There you go.
Good morning, everyone. That was pretty good. Let's try it again. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Chattanooga. No matter if you are in this space or you are watching from home or you're watching this next week, you're welcome into this time with us. I'm the Reverend Mandy Goheen. It's my honor to serve this church. My pronouns are she, her. And this is a day when we're going to talk about why we do justice. What is the reason that we are so focused on social justice, not only in Unitarian Universalism, but if you're in this room, you probably have a little bit of a focus on social justice. So welcome, no matter what brings you here today. No matter how tired you are because of the time change, welcome to this spot. The only time I'm ever on time to church was when I was young and I came to church an hour early because of daylight savings time. Today was a little bit of a mess up. We didn't quite get that. I'd like to open us with a time of thoughtful reflection, thoughtful deepening into where we live in this space. And as you think about how amazing it is to have a place on Sunday morning to celebrate no matter what people's identity is, I want you to look around and throw a smile to your neighbors. Hey. Little wave, a little welcome, a little air hug, whatever you got this morning. I'd like to invite Nicholas up to help us light our chalice, and you can join me with our chalice lighting words that can be found on the screen. I'm acting like I have control over this. Who knows them by heart? In the light of truth, in the warmth of love, we gather to seek, to sustain, and to share. Very good. If you didn't know that, oh, there it is. Okay. I'm proud of you. So, we have an opening song. We have some justice music today. I'm pretty excited. And Charlotte is going to lead us in the hymns. And Leilani's doing our piano. So thank you for all the musicians today that's going to make this special, important day of justice and love fun. So let's sing with our voices and our hearts. Please rise in body and or spirit.
This is probably the first song I learned to sing when I was little. If I had a hammer, I'd hammer in the morning, I'd hammer in the evening, all over this land. I'd hammer out danger, I'd hammer out a warning, I'd hammer out love between my brothers and my sisters, all over this land. Ooh, if I had a bell, I'd ring it in the morning, I'd ring it in the evening, all over this land. I'd ring out danger, I'd ring out a warning, I'd ring out love between my brothers and my sisters, all over this land. Ooh, if I had a song, I'd sing it in the morning, I'd sing it in the evening, all over this land. I'd sing out danger, I'd sing out a warning, I'd sing out love between my brothers and my sisters, all over this land. Give me just a minute. There we go. If I had a... Oh, hold on, I messed up. Well, I got a hammer and I got a bell and I've got a song to sing all over this land. It's a hammer of justice. It's a bell of freedom. It's a song about love between my brothers and my sisters all over this land. It's a hammer of justice. It's a bell of freedom. It's a song about love between my brothers and my sisters all over this land. Oh, I totally messed that up, y'all. I'm sorry. Time. All over this land. There we go.
Oh, look at her. Audrey Faye Hendricks, the civil rights queen. Who knows her? Uh-oh. Yes, one. Okay, so I'm waiting for my iPad to load my script, which is not working out for me, so I'm going to wing who Audrey is. So during the civil rights movement in Birmingham, things were getting ugly. Things were getting hard, and people weren't paying attention to what was going on there. And so there was a children's march. And Audrey Faye Hendricks was the youngest person to be arrested during the civil rights movement. She was arrested during the children's march. She came out of the 16th Street Baptist Church singing, "We Shall Overcome." She was arrested almost immediately with many other children. And she complained because she was 11, about 9. She was 9. Let's see if I had a script, I would have had that straight. But she was 9, and one of the things that bugged her is she didn't have any clean underclothes. That she had to use the bathroom in front of people. Now, there are lots of ways to be involved in social justice without getting arrested. And the reason the kids got arrested during this period was the grown-ups were not paying attention. And so it took some brave action of young people gathered together to make change and make the civil rights movement launch in a way that the whole United States was paying attention. She went on to become a teacher, which is another way to be an activist. You don't have to just get arrested to be an activist. I've been arrested once. It's okay. You can do it all kinds of ways. The first way is learning and listening about history that you're not told, reading books about people like Audrey, finding out who around you loves justice. So there's that way. It's called the educator. You educate yourself and then you share with other people. Another thing, she went on to teach people about civil rights until she died. Although we don't know about her. And I wanted to just look at her beautiful face and think about, this is Women's History Month, and she is surely someone who changed history. We hear about how the march from Selma to Montgomery changed everything and brought voting rights to people in Alabama and all over the world. But here's the thing. It was people like Audrey and people like Viola Liuzzo and people that we don't even know who did all the background work that really helped it happen. Martin Luther King Jr. was amazing, and lots of people followed him, but he wasn't always there. And people needed freedom and attention to injustice. And I want you all to remember, no matter what your age, loving justice makes you special. It makes you important. It creates love in the world. And maybe that justice is just sitting by somebody at school who doesn't usually get people to sit by them and saying hello. Remember how we were smiling and waving at each other? Smiling at people on the street can mean justice. We're in a world now, I think you all know this, where we play a lot on these little video I think they're called phones. When I was your age, the phone was on the wall and it rang and had a big long cord. You're going to have to put your phone down and your video games down sometimes and smile at people. Just remember that people are important and they are centering us in what is love and justice here and near and far. And we need all of us, especially you young people, to help us lead the way and be somebody like Audrey. Be brave. Now, she had permission from her parents to get arrested, let's be clear. We also need to be safe. It is inspiring to think that one of us in this church may be called the Queen of Civil Rights someday. It's inspiring that all of you are in a place of love where you can develop your authentic self into whoever you want to be, whether that be a social justice rebel, a social justice teacher, or someone who just in the background is paying attention to what love looks like in public. And that is my message for young folks today, and everybody, quite frankly. So I'd love to inspire you to find out more about Audrey and find out more about what she did. There's some really amazing children's books about her. But she's often forgotten. And like I said, okay, Charlotte gets a round of applause again for knowing who she was. But now that we all know who she is, we can tell her story, and people will know that children have power that nobody should underestimate. Now, join me in singing our children off to religious education. Anyone grade school 12 or under are welcome to go downstairs. And there is, yeah. Ooh, it might open. Please join me in a time of reflection and meditation. Let's get comfortable in our chairs. If you have anything that isn't helping you stay focused in your hands, put it down, and let's breathe into this space. And let's take a deep breath together, loud, so your neighbor can hear. This has been a week again. Chattanooga made the news, unfortunately. And it has been a week where my beloved siblings who express themselves as whole and authentic, who participate in drag or any kind of medical treatment for who they are, have been hurt this week. And I want to breathe love into that and let everyone know that just that I'm here, that many of us are here. If you need access to something that you are not getting access to, this is a place of love for you. I want us to set aside our privilege. Many of us, like myself, are cisgender and identify in the gender that we are assigned at birth. And that is a privilege that must be used, not ignored. When we are welcomed everywhere without thinking about it, be mindful when you hear things on the news that you have access to make change. Be mindful when you're walking down the street that we need to smile at each other and say, hello, and I love you, and this is a place where you are honored and sacred. We are so lucky to be in a space of Unitarian Universalism today where our identity is authenticity. This is a place where we are authentically real and whole, a place where love triumphs, a place where any number of wedding officiants will marry you, regardless of what the status of who you love is. This has been a week of beauty and rain and complications. Flowers are blooming, things are sprouting in the fertile ground of love and justice, not only in this space, but at large. This is a place where you can be who you are, where you can be loved. And I have accountability to make sure that is happening here and now. Yes, we're tired sometimes. Yes, it seems hopeless. But when young people need us like they do now, I refuse to give up hope. If you've had something in your week that deserves coming up and lighting a candle so that it can be held in this community, we're going to have a time of that in a moment. As you light the candle, let that joy, sorrow, everydayness out into a place where it can be held and cherished. And now I invite you forward to light candles for your joys and concerns. Spirit of love and life, surround us and surround our joys and concerns. Let marking these spaces be important to us. And if there are candles that were unlit, that love is still held in this space. May your joys and concerns be blessings to you in a way that change you and make you grow. May the hard lessons be just that, and know that we will be comforted and loved in the outcome. So, technology has let me down once again. And this is the third time I've ever preached from an iPad, and every time I learn the same lesson, that I am not technologically sound sometimes. I think it's opening. Okay, I had to download the docs vacuum. Sorry, I'm just putting us in the time when we were, yeah, I'm going to just put it away, honestly. So, this happened to me a long time ago. I lost my notes, and that's how I started preaching like this. Selma, Alabama. Who's been to Selma? A couple of us have been to Selma. I've been to Selma a lot. I lived in Montgomery, Alabama for a long time. And I actually lived in Montgomery, Alabama until I moved here. And in Selma, there is a famous bridge, the Edmund Pettus Bridge. And that bridge is famous because during Bloody Sunday, John Lewis was one of the first people to march across. And what I want to talk about is where that bridge came from before that. Until the 1940s in Selma, there was a double-tracked mule cart bridge there. And so it was time to build something new for Highway 80. That was not helping them out. But the problem was who they named the bridge after. We don't talk about who Edmund Pettus is. Another one of those names we don't really know. We know it, but we don't know what he did. Edmund Pettus was a virulent Confederate. He was the Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan. He was he was one of the people in the legislature that fought against reparations. He is buried in Selma in Live Oak Cemetery. And I want to tell you something. I've been to Selma within the last few years, and it's actually 2019, and I have pictures of the Live Oak Cemetery. And why that's important is because there are Confederate flags today in that cemetery marking graves. There was a bust of one of the other Confederate soldiers stolen from the cemetery. So there's this pillar, which I also liked very much, and it's empty on the top. And there's a sign that said, $1,000 reward for the return of the head of our beloved general. And I was like, well, it's an old sign. But I just imagine that head got thrown off the Edmund Pettus Bridge. That's the story I tell myself. You see, the Edmund Pettus Bridge, if you haven't been there, was designed so that steamships could go under, because that was the main place where people and cotton were traded there in Montgomery. And so they needed to be able to get riverboats back and forth. And because of that reason, there's a high arc in the middle of the bridge. And when you're walking, you can't see what's on the other side until you're at the very top. And so John Lewis was in Selma and walked over the bridge into the county. And there are pictures of what happened that day. And like the Children's March, where children were arrested, this got public attention finally. Walking over a bridge that has laws in place so that its name can't be changed. Driving across a bridge every day or walking to get to work of somebody who is celebrated as a Klansman seems ridiculous. And there is a movement going on right now, thank goodness, to change its name to John Lewis Bridge. Whew, right? But it's being blocked. And that has been turned down recently by the Alabama legislature. Which brings me to some other legislative things this week. It feels like that metaphor of going across that bridge and not being able to see what's on the other side is kind of where we're getting right now. Theodore Parker said, the arc of the moral universe is long and it bends towards justice, but sometimes I was thinking maybe we're on the side where we can't see over. What's on the other side? What made people so upset that finally they did something about what was going on in Selma, which was terrorism? Let's be honest. And I am feeling that bubbling around here this week. How can we be in a space? How can this many people be in a room where I announce we are committed to love and justice, and we're still on that bridge going over to the other side, and we don't know what's going to happen yet? How in 2023 are we still on that bridge? And when we're on the bridge, we have some choices, right? We can speak out. We can educate people. We can protest. We can write letters to our governor about his lovely yearbook picture this week. We can stand up for our children, because here's what scares the pants off me, anyway, is once again, morality and religion is being used to terrorize people. How can that be? I heard somebody say, well, you're very explicitly welcoming to LGBTQIA plus people here, but you don't say anything about welcoming cisgender people here. We already did that. Hello? We can never stop. It's like daylight savings time. It just keeps coming back. It's annoying. It's just mean. What can we do? What is stirring in you today? Is the rebel stirring in you, the person who's going to protest and get in some trouble to cause some action? Is that bubbling up in you like it is me? Like it must have been stirring in John Lewis every time he crossed the Edmund Pettus Bridge? You feel it? Maybe that's not for you. Maybe that's not for you. Maybe you think that being a rebel is a little scary. Yeah, it's fun sometimes. So maybe it's education that can be your place of action. Educating and reaching out to people and loving people who are hard to love. When we were in the MLK parade, I was just telling this story that there were some people in front of us with a last name that starts with W that are important politicians in our city and in our county. And I thought, why do we have to walk behind them? I want to be separate from that. And it's easy for me to get grouchy and judge and say naughty things about Cody. But I also have access that other people don't have to her. I have some authority in ministry. I have the fact that, other than the blue hair, I present semi-normal. I have that space to talk to her, to have a conversation. We are at odds right now. We don't know how they're going to enforce this anti-drag stuff. Like, we don't know. Somebody was talking to me about our talent show the other day. We have a talent show coming up, and they're like, will I be breaking the law if I do drag? And I was like, I hope so, but I don't know. That sounds fun. What baffles me, though, is how we can all sit together and be in this space of liberal religion or whatever brought you here today. And still, right up the street, there's people gathering, A, ignoring this, or B, feeling entitled under a moral law of protection of children. Now, here's my problem. I have never taken my child to a burlesque show. They've seen drag. What kind of people do they think we are? Like, I'm just baffled. Like, I'm going to take and put children in a position where A, they might be in danger, and B, I'm more worried about now police showing up. Like, what do? Well, first thing we do is we do sexual education so people know what's the difference between the difference of things. And that's important here. And not just sexual education for children. You know, our culture is shifting dramatically. I took sex education in Catholic high school in 1985. It was abstinence only, but it was Catholic high school. Nobody expected any different, right? But in our public schools, that's what they're teaching too. Is that effective? Because I don't think so. What's effective is teaching people about birth control and how to protect their bodies, not just from pregnancy, from dangerous diseases that could hurt them, that we're not going to ignore anymore. This is not about children. This is about insecure people who want to control the narrative and control people. This is about limiting, may I say this boldly, my religious freedom, because it is not part of this religion that we would label drag as bad. Or transgender, or any kind of anything people want to be, and that's what scares me. Who's going to be next? Women are certainly under the, they already came for us, right? Now they're just coming for everyone, and here's the problem. Here's what we have to remember. Anytime we think we're done with something, that should be a wake-up call. Anytime you hear yourself saying, in my position of privilege, I feel bad because I can't go there, you need to do a self-check. I'm not included. I feel left out. Do a self-check of why. See where your privilege is. I've been thinking about privilege on this scale. And you personally would be at 0, I guess. Everyone would. We all have our own scale. And like where we move changes, and where we are privileged in different spaces changed. People have all kinds of privilege in this room right now, because that's part of who we are, to listen and love each other. But when we move into the next space, at the DMV or wherever we are, it can shift depending on the laws in this state and in this city. It just feels like we're doing the opposite of what the Reverend William Barber said, which is forward together, not one step back. It's time to refuse to take steps back. It's time to start letting that stirring inside you start letting it wake up. What are you going to do? It's fine to be here because we're together and we can talk about stuff, get things off our chest, strategize, regroup, sing, celebrate together. That's great stuff. But we have to use that to charge our batteries so that when we go out in the world, we're strong. When we go out in the world and somebody is being arrested for who they are, We have to be strong and disrupt that. I don't know what the answers are. I had this great idea about this sermon. It's going to be like, why we do justice? Oh, it makes us feel so good. It's so nice. It makes us feel good. We do justice because it is necessary. Because somebody has to be doing it. We can't be complacent. We can't think the job is done. That arc is bending and bending and bending. And I've said this before, we have to participate in bending that arc. So today, I essentially would like all of you to do something that I never say to do. Let's email Governor Lee today. All of us. Okay? From the Unitarian Universalist Church of Chattanooga, let's send him a message. We can send our DA a nice message. Remember, we love everybody. Come on. Yeah, I have some things to say, too. More than one message. But part of what I get to say as a minister that's kind of cool is I have some of your constituents in my church. And if you don't straighten up, we're going to start causing some trouble and causing some comfort. Because that's what John Lewis would say, right? To cause some good trouble. That's what it is. That's the joy right there, that good trouble. Did you see the little sparkle in my eye when I said that? A little, raising a little ruckus. We're Tennesseans, man. I don't want to be ashamed of that. I don't want to be ashamed to be from Chattanooga because we have terrible laws about drag. I want to be proud. I'm a proud Southerner. That's radical to say. I'm not ashamed of it because you know where change comes from. It comes from those places of friction, and it sometimes comes from a little bit of anger, but we have an advantage because we have a whole lot of love to pour into that and a whole lot of support. So email our friend. Why is our governor's last name Lee? Never mind. Email Governor Lee. Contact our district attorney. Last things last. Police Chief Murphy came here about a month or so ago. And right now, Police Chief Murphy and Mayor Tim Kelly are saying, we're actually going to focus on violent crimes, not this right now. So supporting them as well. So when we send emails to people about, we also need to be sending emails that say thank you to those two. Because that builds power too. And I don't even like emails. But if they hear from enough of us, they're going to know that A, we're not going to back down quietly. And when we're not willing to put up with people being erased. And that's it. Do so with humor and love. Do so with graciousness. Do so with the faces and smiles you saw here today. You're not alone. You are part of this community, no matter if you're only here for a second, and you are loved. And may it be so, and blessed be. Now, speaking of social justice, we've moved our social justice moment a little bit. We have some slides, I believe, for that. Oh, out of the wrong order. We'll go, keep going. Woo, slideshows. I love them. Love technology. There you go. Thank you, Judy.
Thank you all. We're continuing along with the Women's History Month theme, and I would be remiss after spending my career and retiring from public relations for the Girl Scouts and not recognizing that today, March 12th, is the 111th anniversary of the founding of Girl Scouts of the USA.
Wow.
And Girl Scouts they continue to raise truly amazing girl and women leaders, many whom have gone on to start and lead social justice movements over the last 100 years. But I wanted to segue a little bit into how domestic violence has historically affected women. Guns turn domestic violence deadly. Abusers are used use guns to threaten and control victims. These threats often escalate to murder. Every month, an average of 70 women are shot and killed by an intimate partner, and nearly 1 million women alive today have reported being shot or shot at by intimate partners. The ripple effects of guns in the hands of an abuser extend far beyond the intimate relationship. This affects children, family members, coworkers, and the law enforcement officers who respond to it. The deadly intersection of guns and domestic violence has disproportionate impact on Black, American Indian, and Alaskan Natives, and Latina women. Research clearly shows that federal and state policies and practices that disrupt abusers' access to guns can save lives. So whenever you hear somebody talk about a red flag laws, ERPO laws, which is extreme risk protection orders, that's what they're talking about, trying to enact laws that would help in domestic violence situations. Every town in Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense have worked with Congress urging them to close also the dating loophole, because much prior legislation has only affected married persons. New legislation recently introduced would ensure that anyone who is subject to a restraining order for abusing a date partner or convicted of misdemeanor stalking is unable to access firearms. Can I have the next slide, please, which you already got a preview of earlier? There you go. So here are many of our UUs that we know and love at the Advocacy Day in Nashville in 2020, right before COVID shut us down, within a few days before, actually. And I'm happy to share with you that Dylan drove by himself as the lone Chattanooga representative from all of Chattanooga to go this past week. And people reported back to me that he was as great as having 5 of us when he went to, when he went to talk with legislators this week. So currently in Tennessee, there are several bills voted on or being voted on by our lawmakers, from allowing 18-year-olds to conceal carry without permits or training. Think of high school and college-age students carrying guns legally, to classrooms, sporting events, etc. And there's another one for increasing the type of firearms allowed to be openly carried to include long guns and semi-automatic weapons. There's also a bill to allow teachers to carry. Some of these bills are going to the Senate Judiciary Committee on Tuesday. I have some specific calls to action in the back on a little piece of paper you can take with you, a few sheets of paper with more details on these bills that are coming up, and I encourage you to take some action and see me if you want more information. Thank you so much.
Now I got to figure out where we are. I think I switched that just for fun. I'm trying to make the slides as confusing as possible today. So this is a time in our service where we take up an offering. And we take up an offering for the mission of this church. And the mission of this church is to care. One of the things I want to say is, during the offering, I want you to think about some of the things that have happened here this week, including Dylan going and to do the work of lobbying, which is so important. That's another way that we can be active and activists. We have had kids at the Mountain, which is the Retreat and Learning Center. Yay, fun, middle school. It wore our religious educator out a little bit to take 5 of them up. But it was a learning experience for everyone. My kid went, and they had a really good time. So really appreciate the work of that. Appreciate the work of the gardens and of the building and all the things that people are doing around here. We had an amazing potluck this week. That's so fun. I heard there were like 30-ish people here. Wow, right? Where we just got our bylaws passed to make them more spacious. We have all kinds of leadership going on around here that is worth supporting. All of us are at different positions of giving. Every little bit counts, but if this is not a day where you feel like you have the extra to spare, you can let the plate pass you by, or you're new and you don't know what we're all about yet after I just ran my mouth. You can let it pass you by, but you know, the sign says it all. We are all connected, stronger together. Love, hands in the world, called to create justice. respond for one another and the earth. That's the work that is so sacred and special here, and the offering will be gratefully received. We're not donating the plate today. Another thing the offering helps with is our incredible staff, and I want to point out somebody who just covered their face that's making coffee today. Cass came today as a volunteer to make coffee for us. We've been having a little trouble finding coffee makers. Cass is our amazing bookkeeper and knows everything about Unitarian Universalism and all your addresses if you pledge here. So be very nice and say hi to Cass. Please join me in our offertory response. We did not donate the plate today. Just kind of cover your eyes. We give these gifts freely, committed to our mission to care, create beloved community, awaken hearts and minds, resist injustice and act with compassion, embrace life and care for the earth. To this work, we dedicate our offerings and ourselves, right? And ourselves. Great. So it's time to sing again. Yay, Charla. This is fun. And that's another thing that we do in justice work. We sing, right? We chant. We raise our energy so we can go out. And this is a song that's pretty important today because I think, well, you can sing it anyway. What's your favorite verse?
The one where he says, on this side it says private property. On the other side it doesn't say anything. That's the side for me.
Ah, yeah. I like it. All right, please rise in body and or spirit, both here and at home, and join us in singing the Woody Guthrie amazing song, This Land Is Your Land. You can dance if you want.
This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. As I went walking that river of highway, I saw above me that endless skyway. I saw below me that golden valley. This land was made for you and me. I roamed and rambled and I followed my footsteps to the sparkling sands of her diamond deserts, and all around me a voice was sounding. This land was made for you and me. When the sun comes shining, then I was strolling, and the wheat fields waving, and the dust clouds rolling, and a voice was chanting as the fog was lifting. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Islands, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. One more time. This land was made for you and me. We're going to do it again because 3 is magical. This land was made for you and me, and everybody else too.
Can I see the next slide? Ah, it's right. That's exciting. So what? Okay, before I do this, I want to say so what. So it sounds like Governor Lee will be getting lots of emails from the Unitarian Universalist Church of Chattanooga and its congregants. Don't be afraid to name where you're from. Also, so what? Making good trouble is sacred work. You have a so what?
No.
Hi.
Just wondering if you have his email address.
Oh, I would. His email address. I don't know, but we will find it. Governor at youaregettingonmynerves. I don't think that's. Governor at youroutofTouchWithThePeople.com. Okay. That probably won't work. Look it up. I'm sure it's very public. I don't know. Yeah, but we'll get you an email. Also, just be thoughtful about the places you're in this week. If you're somebody who needs an ally, I'm happy to help you with that. If you're somebody who wants to be an ally, I'm happy to help you with that too. I love this place, and I love that we have this time and space together, but we need to take it and spread it out as we go in the world. Spread it to our job places, spread it to where we go to the grocery store, spread it to other churches, and spread the love. But don't forget, sometimes that requires the good trouble. So with that, please join me in extinguishing our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but keep the light of truth and the warmth of community and the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and share with all the world. And now it's our favorite time of church, which is announcement time. Does anyone have an announcement? Okay, here comes Andy. Announcements.
Very quick and boring.
Oh, good. Quick and boring announcements.
Well, I tried to look up the governor's email address, but there's a form you have to fill out. So.
Oh, barf. Okay.
But there was a phone number and a fax number. So, anyway, my announcement is that next Sunday after church is our monthly board meeting. I know some of you won't be able to be there, sorry. But those of you that can, please stay, and we'll try to bring some food. We'll organize that on our email. And if anybody wants to come to the board meeting that's not on the board, that's always allowed, although not often taken up.
So fun. Yeah.
But occasionally we do have guests and visitors, so just know that you're allowed. And that was really my announcement.
I think welcome's the word you're looking for, not allowed. Yeah. Welcome. All right. Anybody? Rich has a monocle. I'm so jealous.
I have one working eye. I don't need two.
Look at that.
Oh. And here's how you hold it. You put the little legs here and get it out of the way of your beard.
Oh my gosh, that's my announcement. I'm kidding.
Done with it?
Yeah.
Don't look at me as Rich today. Look at me as Christian Harwath, because he's out of town. They're up in Kentucky. They went to some kind of great concert. I've heard the group they played. Anyway, he asked me if I would make the announcement about the upcoming talent show. And I said, oh, sure, that's not a problem, because I'm putting something, whether you call it a talent or not, in it. But I was thinking, I don't think I've ever seen anybody that's want to practice their comedian chops. So if you've been kind of working on something in front of a mirror, maybe one of these days, you've got a friendly audience. Nobody's going to throw, tomatoes and anything at you. So, why not? So anyhow, it's going to be the 25th That's a Friday or Saturday night? That's Saturday night? Okay.
I made it this morning. That's all that's
Yeah,
important.
yeah. So, show up. Even if you're not talented, you could sit and be talented as a sitter and a clapper and a laugher and all that kind of stuff.
What time is it on Saturday?
6. Okay, listen. So it's when? Saturday, March 25th at 6 p.m. And speaking of drag, I will be singing cowboy music. So I hope that doesn't scare you away, but I'm going to be singing some old-timey cowpoke music. I have to shop for a hat, which would be good. Yeah. I got a hat. Okay, I got a weird head. It's kind of little and big at the same time. I don't get it.
Hello, everyone. My name is Camille Mason. I'm the Director of Religious Education. Exciting news. Next week, we are having our multi-generational service, which is going to include and you can showcase our wonderful children's talents. So please make sure you come next Sunday. It's going to be really awesome. It's going to be completely kid-led. So.
Ooh, fun. And with that, I will not be here. I'll be at a funeral in North Carolina and on study leave next week, but I'm only going to be gone from like Wednesday to Wednesday, so I'm still around if you need me, and I'm still, and study leave means I'm off thinking lofty thoughts, not really on vacation or anything, so you're welcome to contact me. But yeah, I just want to wish you all a wonderful week, and our service has ended. Let our service to the world begin.